Hi there, Ronnie here, coming at you with a video. I've been watching a few YouTube channels that deal with RPG horror stories. Not completely, but you know, fair few of them I've been watching. And yeah, there's been a few. I could come up with a couple of myself. Um, but I don't want to talk about those particular incidences. One of the things that comes up time and again in these horror stories is the business of railroading. Um, where a GM has such a set plan in motion that the characters are only given one choice. And I've never really agreed with railroading. I think that's why I've never been a big fan of dungeon crawls. Because ultimately, dungeon crawls are, I guess, they're about as an acceptable phase of railroading as you can get. There are only distinct paths that one can take in a dungeon. Um, I did run a one shot that was entirely set on a train. I mean, that's as close as I've done to actual railroading ever. Um, but one of the interesting aspects, I think, uh, when it comes to choice is that it's a two-way street. And what I mean by that is, I think it's absolutely right that more than one choice um, is given by a GM. But also, I think players too can create new choices. Now, it could be, I mean, the group I run on a Thursday are all friends. And to sort of paraphrase a famous line from a poem, two roads diverged in a wood, and I never saw the third, fifth, fourth, and fifth roads that the players decided to go on instead. Um, and I think as a GM, you have to be open to the fact uh, that players are going to zig when you thought they were going to zag, and you have to adapt. I don't think you should force them to go a certain way. If they go a certain way, then you might have to amend. Now, if you had a particularly interesting encounter on Road A, if it doesn't actually change anything in terms of the structure of anything you're doing, by all means, just shift the encounter over to Road B. It's not, a big hassle. But the other thing um, is to allow players to choose. But players, when choosing, need to understand that the game doesn't pause. I think this is somewhere where video games have a bit of a problem. If the road to the left, using a very simple uh, sort of analogy, if the road to the left means going home, seeing family, seeing friends, visiting allies, and the road to the right means you're probably going to get involved in an ongoing situation that's happening throughout the kingdom. No one is telling you which way to go. There's nothing to stop you from going one way or the other. But what shouldn't happen, and this is where I think the video game thing comes into that, is there are no cutscenes. There are no pausing of effects. I've referred to this before as the Truman Show effect, where players, some players, not all, some players are under the impression that stuff only goes down when they enter that area. Everyone is waiting in position 1, waiting for the PCs to arrive, and then they start. No, towns are living, breathing things, villages, farmsteads, kingdoms. And NPCs aren't waiting for the players. NPCs have plans. Now, maybe those plans include the players, in which case the NPCs are going to smack them no matter which course they take. But if your NPCs have already decided that they're going a certain route, the players can certainly take a particular path and try and intercept them and may very well stop them or at least delay them in their plans. But if they choose to go another route, they have that right. And the GM shouldn't stop them from going there. And I never have. But you don't press pause either. You don't press pause on the NPC's plans. The world is moving forward. The world is going on. If the NPCs have decided they're going to attack this large city in 4 days, that's going to happen whether the players are there or not. Unless the players do something in those 4 days that may cause the plans to be changed or delayed or completely aborted. And the truth is, they may not even know about this plan to attack this particular city. But that just means that, you know, they are there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not nasty to players, but I don't believe in being imposing a campaign while they have a cutscene. Hate video games for the way they've sort of polluted players like that. So as a player, I would say this: if you're a player in a game and you feel that the GM is pushing you towards a specific point or place, actually shoving you, not allowing you to make any other moves, then by all means, you know, after the session's ended, you know, make your feelings known. You have the right to move your character, you know, to go here rather than there, go there rather than here. Now, certainly NPCs might ask the characters to deliver a letter. They might ask the character, due to circumstances in the storyline that's going on, could they head towards such and such a place? And the players can say yes, in which case they kind of, they've agreed to that road. But if they don't, and they decide to go somewhere else instead, that's fine. That's what players do. GMs, you have to adapt to that. But you don't have to adapt the timetable. For example, the game I'm running on the Thursday, stuff's happening. Stuff is happening that the players have no idea what's going on, because stuff is happening. It's happening away from where they are, and it has repercussions. Now, ripple effect might hit where they are, but right now they've got their own stuff to deal with. But the bad guys aren't waiting for the NPCs to come into their area before they enact anything. They're already in motion. The plan is already gone. The game is afoot. We can't have this idea of the Truman Show. So GMs, prepare to be flexible. And okay, your players might not do the thing you thought they were going to do. You might have to mix things up a bit, change a few things here and there just to help facilitate where they're going. But what they're doing might be so much more interesting than what you had in mind. I ran a Falkenstein game many years ago, and it was a basic one-shot, and the idea was all the dragons had just went ballistic and just started attacking all the major cities, and it turned out they were being controlled by a powerful dragon in China. So all the heroes were on this airship heading towards China, coming from London and heading towards China. And as they were flying past Berlin, they saw that the place was in absolute rack and ruin. Now, I was pretty much expecting them all just to fly on, but they didn't. They stopped. They parked the car, for want of a better phrase. They anchored the airship, they went down, and for the next 2 or 3 hours, rather than dealing with the dragon, they tried to help out, 2 to 3 hours game time. They tried to help out the people in Berlin and get some infrastructure back in there before they went on. Now, this didn't change the dragon's plans. It had plans in motion. They kept going. And what ended up happening, what they were up against at the end of it was a far bigger problem than there would have been if they had just went straight there. But by taking that interesting detour, it allowed the Emperor Dragon to amass more forces and get more influence. Now, nothing happened that was wrong. It was interesting. It was different. As a GM, you don't tell them, no, you can't stop there. That's railroading. You can't tell them to, no, go away. No, don't want to do that. You have to suddenly think on the spot, and I did, and it was a stressful couple of hours from a GMing point of view because I had to think on my feet. But it didn't stop the bad guy, their main sort of villain, from continuing to plan en masse, because what those players were doing did not impact on his plans whatsoever. What I didn't do was, oh, they're taking this detour. I'll just pause on the Emperor Dragon's plans right now. I'll wait until they pick back up again, then I'll you know, unpause it. No, no, you can't do that, or I can't do that, because I believe that the world that's happening is a living and breathing and constant world, and it's not just waiting on the players to show up. If you want to play a game where everyone's waiting for the players to show up before anything happens, go play a video game. Nothing wrong with them, but you know, that's what you're waiting for. RPGs shouldn't be like that. NPCs shouldn't be waiting for players to show up before they act. And major NPCs surely won't. Now, certainly if the player characters become that much of a pain to the sort of major NPCs, if they become too much of a problem, then they might act directly against them. But sort of until that point, the NPCs are just going to keep on with their plans, keep doing what they're doing. And if the player characters happen to be there at the time, they might be able to stop it. They might be able to delay it or abort it. And maybe if they do that enough times, the NPCs will turn around and say, right, these guys are a pain, we're going to put a stop to this. But unless that happens, GMs shouldn't be held back. That's how I feel anyway. What are your thoughts?